Good evening.
Good evening.
So, the Lazarus experiment A. What?
It's shit.
Really? Go on then. Why is it as you
I assume that's what you were going to say.
I wasn't actually going to say that. Tell me why you think it is, if I may paraphrase, not as good as one would want it to be.
Well, there's no aliens. I can't get on with the relationship between him and Martha. I just think Martha is a dud and she does my head in.
Mm-hmm.
If Martha was my friend, I'd have slapped her by now.
Because of her relationship with the doctor?
Yeah, the sort of pining for him and
Yeah.
just even making it a thing. You're going to space. You're seeing amazing things.
Yeah.
It's, it's more than just, oh, this man.
Yeah, and
she's not sexy even at the end when she tries to lure him and said, oh, I thought it'd be interesting, something more fun to do. And it's like, what? I don't know.
I'm not sure how important it is in terms of her success as a companion, but she's fairly sexless, I think. And I think that's probably leads to her being, here's a fun fact, Doctor Who fans, the only companion who was in Doctor Who and Torchwood and the Sarah Jane Adventures. I think the fact that she's almost like a cipher.
Somebody wants her to happen.
Well, right, yeah.
I actually like her a bit more later on when she goes all... She goes in the army, doesn't
Well, we don't
she?
know that yet because we've not watched that.
Spoilers!
Yeah. I think it does Tennant no favours at all. No, I'll rephrase that. I think this is the strand of Tennant's character. You see, how can I phrase this? Because I'm not supposed to know what comes next. Let's put it like this. There are aspects of Tennant's Doctor I find quite unpleasant. I don't like the way that he lands and suggests that he's just going to leave Martha after this one trip, as if, he's some gigolo.
Do you think he is?
Just going to leave her?
Yeah, do you think his intention is to leave her?
I think he thinks that's his intention, but there's no way he's going to do it because he's the Doctor. But I think he thinks he is. I think this Doctor thinks he's a bit cooler than he actually is, quite frankly.
It exposes him as being a lonely person.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but most Doctors can sort of accept that of themselves and build upon that.
Yeah, but he can't. That's why it's a bit sadder. It's just like he's pining so much
For Rose.
And yeah, or even just like a break from all the constant travelling. You made a reference to getting old and all your friends dying in this one as well.
That's true. That's a very good shout.
He's sort of aware of his lack of mortality.
And I think that almost possibly, I don't know how many, we'll have to retrospectively look at this, but how many romantic relationships has the Doctor had? I think fan lore before this would have suggested none. And fan lore after this suggests, well, he probably had loads and we just never saw them. But if you see Rose as being a critical relationship in his life, it kind of changes the dynamic of any relationships that come after. And sadly, Martha's the victim in this regard because she's I hate to say this, the next person that comes along. And he doesn't give her the due that...
It's a classic rebound.
It is, but he doesn't give her the due that, for example, he's going to give Donna. When finally they get back together, not that I know that's going to happen. Well, that's very...
Donna's a real woman.
And Donna is willing, thank you very much for that, is willing just to say, piss off.
AKA a real woman.
Yeah. Right, okay.
So this... like Gattis. So...
Right, okay, so yes. I think I like the idea of Gattis more than I like Gattis, which is a really horrible thing to say.
Like his face, his body or his hair, or his acting.
I struggle. I think it's because I was such a big League of Gentlemen fan back in the day. I do struggle when I see Gattis in other roles because I think that he's going to get a nosebleed or I think that he's going to shit business this or all that kind of thing. So unlike other comedy actors, and in fact that's not fair because in actual fact, Pemberton and Shearsmith I've seen in Doctor Who and I buy them a bit more. There's something about Gattis that doesn't quite work with me and I don't quite know what it is. I feel really unfair saying that because in honesty, I love Mark Gattis because he's such a big nerdy Doctor Who fan and he loves the programme and you can't knock that. But in terms of, having this role, I mean, I think he does better as the old Lazarus than he does the young Lazarus, quite frankly. When he's the old Lazarus, I buy into that a lot more. The second he comes out as Mark Gattis, I do struggle with that. And I think that, in general... the other major thing about this story that is going to let it down, and there is a redemptive element to what I'm about to say, the other thing about this story that lets it down is the effect of the monster is appalling. Would you agree? There's so many things about it that don't work. At one point, it looks huge.
It's not his face, though.
Then it fits up small corridors. It doesn't look like Gattis at all. So if you're going to put a face in it, make it look like Gattis, but it doesn't look like Gattis. At one point, the voice doesn't sound like Gattis. What's the point in having this recognisable actor if you're not going to then use his voice when it's the body? But it annoys me because it's like... There's been a couple of times where this seems to have happened this series, where the effects haven't quite matched up to the ambition. Is Doctor Who at this point pushing too hard? Anyway, let's reverse it. This is the third Doctor story, in my opinion. Ooh, Libby said that it wasn't earlier, but I think it is. This really reminds me of a third Doctor story. Doctor on his contemporary Earth, investigating rogue scientists and stuff. This is a bit Mind of Evil, isn't it? From back in the day. This is a bit sort of, with the absence of unit and whatnot, this is a bit, Pertwee rocks up, tells Human off for having ideas above their station, then, you know, opines about how wonderful scientists are, then somebody dies at the end. I think it's a really third Doctor story, and it's very fitting that Gattis is in that. I suspect that Pertwee's Gattis' favourite Doctor. Do you reckon Pertwee's Gattis' favourite Doctor? You have to think about that. I think it is. But anyway, it just strikes me as a very third Doctor story. And as a result, when I was watching it this time, I did feel I had a bit more affection for it than I thought I was going to have, because it just sort of evoked that thing. The other thing that reminded me of the third Doctor, and here's the redemptive, you know, if I'm not enjoying aspects of Tennant's Doctor here, it's not that often that I don't enjoy aspects of the Doctor, let's be honest. We have criticised the Doctors, but Tennant is like a archetypal Doctor. You know, do we really want to... The thing that sort of offset his, you know, cockiness or whatever, or however you want to interpret what that conversation with Martha at the start, is when, as happened with Pertwee's stories, when the Doctor's put on the back foot, they suddenly become more likeable. So when Pertwee was put on the back foot by not being on Earth, this is the comparison, I liked his Doctor a lot more. What is it, Lib, that puts Tennant on the back foot in this story? The most powerful force in the universe? I will tell you, a mom. When Martha's mom is giving him hell, all of a sudden, it's like, ah, right, okay then. You know, this is the Doctor. You're not all cocky. You're not all this, that and the other. All it takes is a mom, and you don't mess with a mom. You don't mess with a mom. And all of a sudden he's on the back foot again, and it's like our Doctor again. I genuinely felt that sense of, ah, there you are. Stop.
I think Gattis does like Pertwee best.
Yeah, I think Gattis like.
Because I just googled it.
There you go then. So there we go. The Lazarus experiment is...
I feel guilty for saying that I didn't like Gattis now.
I struggle with
I've
Gattis.
got no beef with Gattis.
No, I've got no beef with Gattis, but... Well, let's talk about his stories when he writes stories. Has he written one yet? Oh, he's written The Unquiet Dead, which was... How good was The Unquiet Dead?
Can't remember which one was it?
It's the Gelth and in Cardiff and the Big Bad Wolf and all that kind of thing.
I like that.
Yeah, it's all right. It's all right. Looks like my daughter's ringing me. I must go in and deal with that situation. Anyway, there we go. It felt like a sort of mid-season, a sort of inconsequential in the grander scheme of things story, and every season needs that kind of thing. And quite honestly, it was all right. It was all right. It was all right.